All right, greetings programs. We are in the midst of taxiing to runway 2 at Chattanooga in Tennessee, KCHA, Kilo Charlie Hotel Alpha. I've skipped over my customary prep stuff. Runway 33 is where we just landed, so just make sure nobody's coming in. Nobody is. Just to bring you up to speed, I had audio problems with my microphone on the flight from Cincinnati down here to Chattanooga, which pisses me off because I benefit a lot from learning from my mistakes and listening to my, contemporaneous observations, the things I'm thinking, the mistakes I'm making, the things I'm doing wrong, the things I'm doing right, and so forth. And so, I sat on that entire flight and basically was talking to myself for an hour, 63 minutes. So anyway, that irritated me, and I felt like I couldn't wrap the evening up without doing another flight and getting it right. So I picked a short flight to Fulton County Airport. There we are. We're actually on the runway right now as part of our taxi. We're cleared up to 7,000 feet. I've already pre-programmed in the vertical speed for 1,800 feet per minute. See that right there. There. Today was, kind of a big day if you're in the flight sim world. There was a big patch that Microsoft released. That caused me no end of headaches when I got it finally installed because it reset all my camera angles, and I had to get that squared away, which was irritating because it took several attempts. Anyway, I just wanted to jump in here while we're taxiing to the runway. We've been cleared already to depart runway 2, and as I said, a very short flight down to Fulton County. There's a car in front of us. Hopefully it'll get out of our way. Yes, it just got out of our way. Car or bus or something. There's an airplane up there. That's pretty cool. We're still 0.7 of a mile from the runway threshold that we're going to be taking off from. So we'll continue just making sure that we're all good to go on takeoff. Our checklists are all addressed as we taxi towards runway 2. Again, you can follow our progress right here. We'll make a little left there. And now we'll just basically, if you see here, I'm just going to go all the way down here and turn around and take off. The altimeter's already set, 3008. Checking my checklist here. Aux boost pump is at auto. Pressurize the airplane. The airplane is pressurized. Bleed set to auto. Yes, it is. A little hard to see in this darkness. I kind of wish that I could use the headlamp feature even though the airplane's working. There's a headlamp feature that lets you, when you get in a cold, dark airplane, it looks as though you're wearing a headlamp, which I found very useful, but then the second you turn the battery on, it deactivates. Anyway, pitot heat, let's make sure we got those set. We do. Inertial separator is on. Lights all properly configured. We have our nav and strobe lights on. We have our taxi lights on. We have our wind setting correct, the way I like it on the PFD. Still getting used to these foot pedals. It's very strange. It's a very strange steering with your feet. I got used to it on FSX. That's how I steered. But played the Flight Simulator 2020 version without pedals for the first 5 or 6 weeks, and so that took a little getting used to once I reintroduced them. We'll set our takeoff flaps Again, looking at our checklist, there we go. And once we get over here to the runway, we'll turn on our landing lights and our pulse lights. Definitely want to be as visible as possible before you take off. Again, you can see where we are. Just take a look right there. MFD really helps take the guesswork out of it. But nighttime approaches and takeoffs are always a slightly different animal. There we go.
Approaching runway 02.
Okay, now we'll contact tower.
Chattanooga Tower.
Make sure nobody's coming in for a landing.
Bravo, runway 2 ready for
Nope.
takeoff IFR to Fulton County.
Activate our landing lights when they clear us.
November 343 Whiskey Bravo cleared for takeoff runway 2.
All right, clear for takeoff. We got our landing lights, our
Cleared
pulse
for
lights
takeoff,
on.
Runway 2 November 343 Whiskey Bravo.
Taxi out onto the runway for this very short flight.
Enter runway 02. 7,300 feet remaining.
This ForeFlight app's amazing with the useful information it provides you. Anyway, taxiing out onto runway 2. Basically just landed in Chattanooga for a hamburger because we're on our way now to Atlanta. So let's line up. Confirm on our compass heading 021. Always want to make sure that the compass heading lines up with the runway you're on. There have been documented accidents. There was one actually in Kentucky. I think it was in Lexington. I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, where they lined up on a runway and took off. They started their takeoff roll, and it turned out they were on the wrong runway, and the plane crashed at the end of the runway because the runway they took off on was too short. So always make sure that you're on the runway you think you're on, because otherwise you can have some problems. You'll notice the wind coming straight at us, 4 knots. That's nice. We're not going to have any issues with crosswind problems. So again, autopilot is not activated. Obviously, we're on the ground. I'll sync the heading bug to current heading, and now this blue little Scion thing synced to the heading we happen to be in. Activate heading. Activate, or not activate, but arm them. Arm vertical speed. Once we take off and we're in a stable climb out, I will activate the autopilot, and we'll be in Fulton County before you know it. Here we go. Airspeed's alive. 60 knots. And rotate. Positive rate. Gear up. Little noise abatement there. Hand flying it right now. Hand flying it. It's drifting slightly off of runway heading. Airspeed's good. 110 and climbing. 115.
125.1 for Docker.
Climb rate's about 1,600 feet per minute. Flaps up.
Chattanooga departure Docker November 343 Whiskey Bravo is climbing through 1,600 feet for 7,000 feet.
That beeping sound is the inner marker indicator. It's nothing bad.
Bravo Chattanooga departure continuous planned. Altimeter 30.07.
That middle marker indicator is a little different frequency. That's a middle marker. That beeping rather is the middle marker indicator. We're going to activate our autopilot, nav mode, and you'll see we'll start doing a right turn. Activate the yaw damper. Now that we're in climb, we wouldn't want to have the yaw damper on the ground. Climbing it, or when you're taking off or landing for that matter. Climbing at 152 knots looks good. Deactivate the inertial separator now. Well, Chattanooga, I just ran to a nearby restaurant right by the airport for dinner, but and I only saw you at night, but who knows, maybe we'll fly back here tomorrow out of Fulton County and see what you look like during the day. Climbing 165 right now, looking really good. 1,800 feet per minute.
Uniform Hotel, contact Atlanta Center on 133.17.
Airplane's basically turning. It took off like this. Here, I'll show you. Took off like this. Now turning and heading towards
departure
this.
FedEx 1376 is at 5,400 feet, climbing 10.
Press the V key again, since apparently it's not crashing the plane, the sim anymore. Another image of what we did. Took off this way, turn this way. Now we're turning left to intercept this line.
FedEx 1376
All right.
Chattanooga departure continuous planned. Altimeter tree 0.008.
Probably going to have an aggressive climb rate. A, because we can, and B, because the flight's so damn short that I'd rather just get up to cruising altitude and then gun it on our speed so that we can, you know, cut out any wasted time. Climbing at 2,400 feet per minute. This aircraft can climb at 4,000 feet per minute. Right now, especially, is not very much gas in it. I only put in, I think, 25%, whatever that is. Well, actually, I don't have to guess. Look, 26 gallons on the left, 24 gallons on the right. Just don't need a lot of gas. But that also means we're very light, which is nice, because it.
Yonder Tree Whiskey Bravo climbed and maintained 12,000 feet.
12,000 is our cruising altitude. So once we get to 12,000, we're done climbing.
12,000 feet, Docker Tree Whiskey Bravo.
Anyway, being very light allows this aircraft to climb even more aggressively than it is otherwise capable of doing, which is respectable on a bad day. This plane can climb. I mean, it is really a rocket. It's got tremendous horsepower, and it's really something else. Out the window here, we climb out, beautiful stars. The screens are still too bright. I'm waiting for that to be fixed in a patch. Let's go outside for a second, just looking around. Can't really see anything. I can see my screen. Yeah, it's funny. 3205 here, Bruce, probably good night. So we're just hauling ass up to 12,000 feet. Climb speed's 168 knots, that's fine. Got a tailwind. Tailwind of 18 knots, that's always fun. Tailwinds are your friends. Little AI glitch there on the ATC, heard everybody talking at once. Not a big deal. A shallow outer descent because we're climbing like a you know what. 11,200 feet to 12,000. 33.8, dear Bruce Bravo. Good night.
133.8, Docker Tree Whiskey Bravo.
Atlanta Center, this is David Bruce Bravo with you. 11,500 to 12,000.
Is at 11,500 feet, climbing 12,000 feet.
All right. Okay, we're really hauling ass here. We're at 12,000 feet, true airspeed, 242 knots. See, the camera has been goofy since the patch. I swear to God, it's driving me crazy. No, I don't want zoom type auto. I want zoom type manual. Yeah, I've noticed this happen twice now since the patch. It's the camera sometimes goes a little weird. Anyway, true airspeed now 265 and climbing 266. We got a tailwind 21 knots. We got an aircraft thousands of feet above us. That's him right there. See him on the MFD radar picture. It looks like he's heading right at us, but if you look up, you see he's well above us. No concern there. True airspeed now 275, still climbing. Flight showing us just 86 nautical miles to Fulton County Airport in Atlanta. Ground speed 297 knots, 298 knots, 12,000 feet. Moving right along here. I'm showing us 17 minutes to our destination. Probably more realistically about 20. I think I mentioned we're landing at runway 27 at Fulton County. 27 or 26? Forgive me, 1 second. Just reconfirm that. KFTY is the initial Kilo Foxtrot Tango Yankee. Yeah, I apologize. We're landing in the RNAV runway 26. Go ahead and enter our minimums. Already determined our minimums to be 1,360 feet on the barometric altimeter. Minimums, Vero 1360. Enter. That appears over here now as our minimums. No frequencies to tune on this one. It's an RNAV approach. Runway 26, RNAV. The initial approach fix for this airport is jeez. I'm sorry, I did this and I saw this airplane. I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell's happening? Then I realized we weren't tracking anymore. There we are. You can actually see our course here. The ZASAN, Z-A-S-A-N, is the initial approach fix. And then offset. At that, we need to be at 3,600 feet. At Elim, E-Y-L-I-M, we need to be at 2,600 feet. And at B-A-C-H-E, Backhag, we need to be at 1,940 feet. And then there's the airport. So things are going well. We're already closing in rapidly. KATL, that's the international airport in Atlanta. So we're landing north of that. But you're going to hear a lot of traffic because I think Atlanta is the busiest airport in the world. So 33.1, Dear Whiskey Bravo. Good night.
133.1 for Dollar Tree Whiskey Bravo.
Pilot Center, this is Dear with Whiskey Bravo with you at 12,000.
Center Tower, November 34 Whiskey Bravo, 12,000 feet.
Anyway, that's why I didn't want to land there at the actual international airport. I just don't want to get sandwiched in between 3004 on the altimeter. I didn't want to get sandwiched in between two, 777s on final. So I picked the GA airport just north, but still in Atlanta. Really hauling ass right now, just showing 14 minutes. Ground speed of 300 knots, 298 knots specifically. We'll be there before you know it. And then I'll be able to look back on this and see where I screwed up, which I always do on every flight. There's always something I do where I realize I can improve next time. Sometimes a little, sometimes a lot. I learned a handy mnemonic. A handy mnemonic by watching a good YouTube channel today, Aircraft Academy. Shout out to them. That mnemonic is, I've modified it slightly, but Gilfy, G-I-L-F-F-Y. It's a good mnemonic to know on as you're beginning your approach, preparing for landing. Gear, inertial separator, landing lights, flaps, fuel check, and yaw damper deactivated. That is Atlanta out there. See the lights of the city from here. Showing us just 12 minutes and expecting to be ordered to descend here momentarily. So I'm going to anticipate that as by beginning to decelerate a little, not a lot. Take us down to 200 knots indicated airspeed. Barometric minimums already entered 1,360 feet. We're 5 nautical miles from our next waypoint of Nello. Again, these nighttime approaches don't afford as much eye candy, but they give more brain candy. And by that I mean I have a greater sense of satisfaction in some ways when I handle a nighttime landing it's not an instrument landing, but it's more complicated, certainly, than a daytime approach in perfect VFR conditions. We'll make our right turn. Make our right turn now. We'll contact Atlanta Center.
Going to 182.1.35 Docker Tree Whiskey Bravo. Atlanta Center Docker November 34 Tree Whiskey Bravo 12,000 feet.
Okay.
Air November 34 Tree Whiskey Bravo Atlanta Center. Continue as planned. Altimeter tree 0.01.
3001 on the
Air
altimeter.
Tree Whiskey Bravo contact Atlanta Center on 133.1.
33.1 here. Whiskey Bravo, good night.
Going to 133.1 Docker Tree Whiskey Bravo.
Airspeed's 196 knots indicated. True
Atlanta
airspeed's
Center,
237.
34 Tree Whiskey Bravo 12,000 feet.
See if they tell us to descend here.
43 Whiskey, Bravo, Atlanta Center. Continue to enter as planned. Altimeter tree, 0.01.
3001 confirmed on the altimeter. See that right there. Altimeter 3001. Made that correction last time. Showing 236 knots true airspeed. 245 knots across the ground. Got a tiny tailwind. It's not exactly behind us.
Whiskey, Bravo, descend and maintain 5,000 feet.
There we go. Down to 5,000 to Air 3 Whiskey Bravo.
Descend and maintain 5,000 feet Docker Tree Whiskey Bravo.
All right, we've adjusted our altitude selector down to 5,000. Now we're going to start descending at 1,200 feet per minute. Keep an eye on our airspeed. Remember, we need to be at 3,600 feet when we get to offset. Okay, and we're up here, so we got plenty of time. Now, our airport is not out in front of us. It's actually over here. We'll make a right turn here soon enough. You can actually see. Well, you'll see actually a very gentle left turn, but then a sharp right turn as we turn in towards the airport. Lots of airplanes, but I will tell you that the time of day helps in terms of traffic. Where I'm sitting, it's 1949 Pacific Daylight Time, 7:49. Universal Time Code is 0250. That's basically the time in Greenwich, England, if you were wondering. Keep our speed under control here. Now that we're descending below 10,000 feet, I'll activate our inertial separator. In any case, my point in observing the time is that in Atlanta, which is Eastern time, it's almost 11 o'clock at night, so that's going to account for a little less crowded skies than if this was, 6 p.m. or noon or 3 in the afternoon. It makes a big difference. Knots indicated still solid, 196, staying steady there. Showing us just 10 minutes now. Master caution light is just referencing the, and you actually can see here on the CAS, that's just telling us that the inertial separator is on.
Docker Tree Whiskey Bravo, contact Atlanta Center on ONE 27.05.
2705, near 3 Screw. Have a good night.
127.05 Docker Tree Whiskey Bravo.
Atlanta Center, this is Derek
Atlanta
Whiskey
Center,
Bravo
Docker
with
November
you at
343
8,900
Whiskey
for
Bravo is
5,000.
1,000 feet for 5,000 feet.
Air November 343 Whiskey Bravo Atlanta Center, continue to Bevy as planned. Altimeter tree 0.00.
3000, we'll adjust our altimeter just a tiny bit. And if you heard him say we're cleared to Bappy. See Bappy? It's our next waypoint. Descending nicely. I believe that the runways that you can see out there might be Atlanta International. Makes sense if you look at our position here on this. We're looking straight at it. You'll look up, pop up over the see? I've actually landed at Atlanta a couple of times, if memory serves. Gigantic airport. Airspeed now 185, descending 7,600 feet for 5,000. We need to be at 3,600 feet at offset. By way of reminder, we're at Bappy, closing in on Bappy.
Bravo, you are 24 miles north.
Watch, 3,600.
Maintain 4,000 feet. Expect RNAV runway 26 approach via Zassin transition. Cleared to Zassin.
So they're going to tell us to descend to 3,600 next. You'll hear.
Descend and maintain 4,000 feet. Expect RNAV runway 26 approach via Zazen transition. Cleared to Zazen Docker Tree Whiskey Bravo.
Shallow out our descent here, but Zazen.
Tree Whiskey Bravo, contact Atlanta approach on 121.0.
21-0, Dare through Scrub. Good night.
Going to 121.0 Docker Tree Whiskey Bravo.
Atlanta approach is Dare through Scrub. Robbie with you at 6,700 for 4,000. Dare through Scrub.
Feet for 4,000 feet.
Air November 343 Whiskey Bravo Atlanta approach. Continue to Zassin as planned.
Zassin.
Altimeter tree 0.00.
See, that's where we're headed. They told it clear. You're cleared to Zassin. Zassin's just an imaginary point in space. Okay, it's called a waypoint. It's just imaginary, but it's there for navigational aid. After Zazen, we go to Obzet. We know we need to be at Obzet. We need to be at 3,600 feet. Somebody's landing here. You can actually see. There's an airplane. He just cleared, so he must have taxied, gotten off the runway. Here we are, headed to Zazen, then Obzet. We need 3,600 feet here, and at Elim we need 2,600, and at Bachag we need 1,940. Airport elevation is, I wrote it down, stand by. Airport elevation is 841 feet. Approach course 265 for this runway. Minimums are 1,360 feet, as I already mentioned on our barometric altimeter. Zoom in here a little bit more on the MFD. Things looking good. Screenshot that. That looks pretty cool. Atlanta. Wow. Big city. Yeah, both my stops in Atlanta were just layovers. I never actually gone out and explored. Continue our slowdown. Get down to about 165. Showing just 7 minutes and 20 seconds to landing. Gosh, look at that. It's amazing how the freeway interchanges stand out so dramatically. Just like in real life. I love the reflection on the interior window. I never saw that until I implemented the ultra settings. Get our landing lights on. I think I actually may have already done that. Sorry, it's been a long day. Headed towards Zazen, or Zazen, whatever he said. Closing in fast. 6.5 minutes now. Continue a gradual slowdown. You can actually see downtown Atlanta. If you look, that's a cool screenshot right there. Nice. Okay, things are looking good. Airspeed's good. do our Gilfie mnemonic gear, which we're not ready for yet. Inertial separators on, landing lights, flaps not ready for that yet. Fuel, just confirming we're good on fuel. I mean, it's getting a little light, but we got enough. As usual, the predictor in the setup page is not entirely accurate. Really should plan on a burn rate of 50 gallons an hour minimum, more like 60. I should just trust that more than anything, because that seems to be more accurate. We may actually end up getting a beautiful view of downtown Atlanta as we make our right turn here. We're at 4,000 feet now. I expect they'll tell us to descend to 3,600 when we cross Zayzen. But let's wait and see how the AI handles it. Airspeed's real good right now.
Dare Tree Whiskey Bravo descend and maintain 3,600 feet.
What do you know?
Descend and maintain 3,600 feet. Dr. Trey Whiskey Bravo.
Told ya. Oh, it's fun to get over the initial learning curve of a game. You know, I spent a week or two where you just don't know anything. Flying right over an airport right there. That's awesome. That's not ours though. Don't worry. It's KPDK. KPDK. That's the airport we're flying over. Which we live in the age of the internet. KPDK is DeKalb Peachtree in Atlanta. And there, as I said, is downtown Atlanta. And yes, we are going to get a postcard shot, because we're about to turn right once we get to offset. We're level at 3,600. We are only 68 seconds from offset, and we're at the appropriate altitude for that waypoint. So this is all excellent news. Start slowing here, because when we make that right turn, we will put our gear down. This airplane does slow pretty quickly when you switch it to flight idle on the throttle. It really slows quickly. Our next altitude to keep in mind after 3,600 is 2,600. So in anticipation of that, I'm going to set to
Dare Tree Whiskey
2,600.
Bravo descend and maintain 2,600 feet.
Well,
Descend and maintain 2,600.
occasionally you get
Dr.
something
Trey
right.
Whiskey Bravo.
Occasionally I get something right. Okay, we'll make our right turn here. As soon as you make that right turn and level out, I'm going to put the gear down. Boy, Atlanta's gigantic. Reminds me of LA. Just as far as the eye can see. Lights. There's that right turn. This is probably the most challenging graphical approach that I've done since I upped everything to Ultra. So this could actually be very useful to see just how stuttery it gets. I mean, I'm sure if I had my frame rate thing up, I would see that it was low, probably in the, I'm guessing maybe the low 20s. But I'm not complaining. There's our runway. You can actually make it out. That's us.
Landing gear.
That's the reminder.
Landing gear.
And again, you see what I mean in terms of us seeing the beautiful Atlanta. That looks, I don't know what that is. It's like a hospital or something, maybe. Everything looks good. Still descending 2,600. After 2,600, we know we need to be at 1940. So I'm just going to take us down to that on the altitude selector. And go ahead and click APR. Try to get it to grab the glide path. It's an RNAV approach, so it is a glide path, not a glide slope. We do have GP showing. I'd like that to turn green. I'm going to do flap deployment now. There's the runway, dead ahead. All is well. Our minimums, again, 1360. Minimums aren't going to be an issue today, since we already see the runway. Magenta Diamond coming up. Coming up. Let's see if this grabs it. Come on, baby. Turn green. Come on, grab it.
Whiskey Bravo, you are 8 miles east of Fulton County. Contact tower on 118.45 when inbound.
Tower on
Should grab it.
118.45 Docker Tree Whiskey Bravo.
We're doing okay. Everything's
Tower
good.
Docker November Tree 4 Tree Whiskey Bravo 8 miles east
Flaps.
of Arnett runway 26 approach.
Look at that. Screenshot.
Docker November Tree, 4 Tree Whiskey Bravo Tower. Cleared Arnett runway 26 approach. Altimeter tree, 0.00 wind tree, 01 at 9er.
Airspeed's good. 84, 85.
Tower November Tree 4 Tree Whiskey
Flaps
Bravo
fully
inbound
deployed.
Arnett runway 26 approach.
Docker November Tree, 4 Tree Whiskey
Look
Bravo
at
Tower.
that.
Cleared Arnett runway 26 approach.
Jesus, I don't want to crash
29.9 wind tree,
because
01
I'm
at
so
9er.
busy staring out the window. Check that wind real quick. Wind was
Cleared Arnett runway
301 at
26
9.
approach, Docker
Okay.
Tree Whiskey Bravo.
So we'll have a slight crosswind from the right.
Tower generic November 49er 7 Papa Foxtrot, ready for IFR departure runway 26.
Oh, cool. There's another airplane getting ready to take off.
Generic November 49er, 7 Papa Foxtrot, cleared for takeoff runway 26.
There's enough time between me and the airport, that he's going to get clearance to take off. And anyway, I think he's on 2.6. I'm on 2.7, so
7 Papa Foxtrot.
memory serves. Still waiting for that glide path to grab. It's so finicky. I think it'll turn green as this magenta diamond sinks lower and lower. But hey, we'll find out.
Docker Tree Whiskey Bravo, cleared to land runway 26. Wind tree, 01 at 9er.
Cleared to land there through Whiskey Bravo.
Cleared to land runway 26 Docker Tree Whiskey
So yeah, that
Bravo.
guy's taking off on 2.6 and I'm landing on 2.6. So if that's a real person, I have to tell you. So given that, I hope that he's not going to dawdle. Like, get your ass off the runway because I don't want to do a go around. I'm running low on gas. Still monitoring our altitude. It's just fine. We're just holding steady at 1,600 feet, which is basically the altitude for the final approach fix. Actually, 1940 is the altitude for the final approach fix. But our minimums are 1340, so we're 1360, so we're above that. 85 knots, perfect on the airspeed, just awesome. There's the runway. I see 2 reds on the Vossi, meaning we're low or underneath the glide path. If you see this magenta diamond now drifting down, see it very slowly moving down. This is where it's likely to intercept. Picking up a little too much speed there. Just so. By the way, did you notice much in the way of stuttering?
Generic 7 Papa
I didn't.
Foxtrot, contact Atlanta departure on ONE21.0.
84 knots. 82. Keep that airspeed. There you go. I got red and white on the Vossi now. Red and white. Vertical approach slope indicator.
Going to 121.0.
There we go.
generic
Look what just
7
turned green.
Papa Foxtrot.
Okay. 500 AGL. 2 mile final. Runway 26. Reconfirm compass heading is 26. Always good to check that so you don't accidentally land at the wrong runway. Or a wrong airport, even worse. There's that guy who just took off. See? He's the guy that just took off. Okay, we're looking good. Autopilot disengaged. I have the airplane. Trim this stick up a little bit. I'm gonna keep red and white on the Vossi. We do have that crosswind. I don't know if it's apparent how the airplane's kind of pointed right. Got a 6 knot crosswind coming from 300. We're at heading about 265. Ooh, we got a little wind bouncing us around. That's cool. Vossi looks good. Red over white. Those 2 lights just to the right of the runway. Airspeed's perfect. 85, 86 knots. Reconfirm gear down. Good, gear is down. Can't really confirm that enough, to be honest. Okay, here we go. little off the center line. It's okay though. Seeing a little bit of stuttering. I am seeing a little stuttering. It's a huge challenge for the PC. Idle. Okay. Burst thrusters. Okay.
Dollar Tree Whiskey Bravo, turn next taxiway.
Well, welcome to Fulton County Airport, Atlanta, Georgia. Local time is 11:07 p.m. A lot going on that approach.
Approaching runway 14.
Take our left turn, use those toe brakes. There we go. Okay, clean up our airplane. Flaps are retracted.
Dollar Tree Whiskey Bravo, turn next taxiway.
I'm off, sweetheart. Go ahead
Dollar
and
Tree Whiskey Bravo, contact ground on ONE
taxi lights
21.7.
and pulse lights. Taxi lights on, pulse lights off.
121.7
Zoom in on the
Dollar Tree
MFD.
Whiskey Bravo.
There we go. Contact ground. Taxi to parking.
Ground Dollar November Tree 4 Tree Whiskey Bravo, taxi to parking.
Air November, Tree 4 Tree Whiskey Bravo taxi to general aviation parking using taxiway Alpha.
Good.
Taxiing to general aviation parking using taxiway Alpha Dollar Tree Whiskey Bravo.
Things are looking good. I mean, we got on the ground. It was kind of cool to see an airplane take off and get cleared to take off in front of us. That was pretty sweet. Dealt with a crosswind. Unbelievable nighttime city, detailed city scenery. I'm sure my CPU and GPU temps are going to be close to or above 70 because this is no doubt in my mind that this was the most demanding challenge. I've said this before. Some of my other flights have been, yeah, it's been ultra, but it really hasn't been the most detailed of sceneries. This was a legit challenge. I guess the only exception to that theory would be that it wasn't a particularly heavy-duty airport. But still, you know what? I'm not complaining. There's Gary off to our right. I'm not complaining. Not in the slightest. Take our right turn. Make sure we don't make mincemeat out of Gary. There we go. Sweet. Okay, so I ended up doing two 45-minute episodes. Parking brakes on. Let's wrap this up. I'm tired. It's 22 degrees out. Nice. About 73, 74 degrees. Kill the engine. Flaps are already up. Fuel selector off. Acknowledge the alarm. Pitot heat off. Inertial separator off. Turn off that aux boost pump. AP trim, fuel selector manual, aux BP, ignition off, lights. Okay, and then last but not least, we'll depressurize the airplane. Okay, that's it, friends. I know it's weird that I did 2 flights in one day, but I just couldn't sleep knowing that I would miss out on an opportunity to learn. And that's part of it. I watch these videos after I do them and see, and I literally take notes, which I know is really disturbing, but this is the byproduct of a childhood with no friends. All right, that's it. Good night, and welcome to Atlanta.